The already hectic Cleveland Cavaliers offseason just went over the top as their star point guard Kyrie Irving says that he wants to be traded and he does not want to be in LeBron James' shadow anymore. The question here is, can Kyrie Irving actually lead his own team? Well, we have some evidence to say that Kyrie is just, for one, a hell of an offensive player. 25 points a game, while doing it very efficiently from the floor, including 40% from three, and being a guy who is one of the more well-rounded scorers in the NBA today, would suggest to you that on a team that just asks him to do more, he could be able to do it from at least a scoring standpoint. There really is no weakness the guy has. Three-point shooting, he's great, whether it be with a guy in his face, in a pick and roll if you decide to go under the screen. From mid-range, he's fantastic. And then he's one of the best scorers at the basket in the NBA today, even for a guy who doesn't show elite athleticism, and he's not the tallest guy in the world. Kyrie really is a gifted scorer. You add all that to what he can do as a ball handler, sure, he can definitely have the attention of maybe some more guys on a defense because he'd be the top guy and LeBron James wouldn't be there. And I do think Kyrie could at least put the ball in the basket still. However, there is a lot of evidence to be concerned about Irving if he was the main focal point of a team as well. Because the thing with the Cavaliers is LeBron James is the top dude. He's the top dude in basically everything. Scoring, assists, the two main things when it comes to being the leader of an offensive team. And I think LeBron has put Kyrie in this perfect position where Irving can do the things that he does well, which is scoring, and at times he can score more than LeBron, or he can have games like Game 7 of the NBA Finals where he can hit the ridiculous three-point shot. But LeBron can take on the responsibilities of being the main distributor, for one thing. Just this previous season, James averaged nearly 9 assists a game because Kyrie, while he has some creation abilities, he doesn't have to be the main guy creating for everyone. His game also allows him to play off of LeBron James very well. But if we look at the Cavaliers' record when LeBron James has been sitting out or when he's just not in the game, they've sucked. And he played a ridiculous amount of minutes this previous season, and even having Kyrie in the game without LeBron James did not fix the fact that James needed to play the most amount of minutes that he's played in a long time. But we also have some other evidence that would say Kyrie might not be the best team leader, and that is before LeBron James happened, and his first 3 seasons in the league, which went from 2012 to the end of the 2014 season. Now, those Cavalier teams, the roster wasn't exactly the best. We should definitely give Kyrie some benefit of the doubt for that one. They didn't make the playoffs in those 3 years, and when you look at the team around him, you're not that surprised. For one, there was Dion Waiters, who finally had some excitement in his NBA career this previous season for Miami. So he was nowhere near a valuable player at this time. CJ Miles, he's okay. Spot shooter, things like that. Tristan Thompson, not as valuable if LeBron James and Kevin Love are not on the team because there was no one else on this team besides Kyrie who was really going to draw attention from a defense. And so Irving was asked to carry something that I would say the majority of star players, especially in their first 3 seasons, are not going to be able to do. However, if you go back and remember some of those times in Cleveland, as well as just find different news stories, there was always controversy of whether he and Dion Waiters actually liked each other. Kyrie's playmaking never took that much of a drastic leap in his first 3 seasons. His first year, he averaged 5.5 assists. By the third year, he averaged a little over 6. And you could always see that the guy was definitely a score-first type of dude, and I never got the impression that he was really lifting his teammates up that much. Of course, there's only so much you can do in a situation where the team around you is not that great, but he never gave off that Chris Paul impression of like, I'm not going to let us lose and I don't give a damn who's around me. We're going to at least like fight and claw our way into the playoffs, which by the way in the Eastern Conference was still not that hard to get into, and Kyrie Irving was never able to do that. Interpret his first 3 years in Cleveland how you wish. Of course he's progressed as a player since then, but it is still some evidence that we can go by. Now, if we look at some other players who I think are similar to Kyrie Irving, not comparing them how good they are, but just similar in terms of play style, one of which is Allen Iverson, a small guard who was the top dude for the Philadelphia 76ers in terms of shot attempts as well as scoring. The team around him had to be really particular. For one, Eric Snow actually led the Sixers in assists, as he was a pass-first guy who could get everybody involved a bit more than Iverson would. And then outside of that, the entire team was just full of defensive players. Dikembe Mutombo was older, but still a very good defensive big man who was the foundation of a team who could be good on that side of the floor. And then there were just guys like George Lynch, who offensively were never going to do much, but physical, tough guys, and that's just what that Sixers team was. Another one was Tyrone Hill, just a bunch of guys who were not going to show up on SportsCenter, but they just helped the team win, and they allowed Iverson to score, and they could do all the dirty work. I think that's a similar thing to what Kyrie Irving would need, given that he's not the best playmaker in the world. I think Isaiah Thomas with the Celtics currently is a situation that would mirror Kyrie Irving if Irving had his own team. Isaiah, 28, 29 points a game, also around 6 assists a game, which is right where Kyrie Irving was. His predominant thing with the Celtics is to just be a scorer. And the Celtics found a way to really use that to their advantage, even if he wasn't going to be a huge playmaker for them. I think Kyrie would have to find himself in a similar spot. Also, some very good defenders on the Celtics. Jay Crowder, one of the best wing defenders in the NBA. Al Horford, who has the ability to defend multiple positions and might not be the best rim protector in the world, but he defends the floor very well. And then Avery Bradley could take the pressure off of Isaiah by always defending the better perimeter player. And then if we can get back to Al Horford, he was the best passer on the Celtics this year. He averaged around 5 assists a game while having the ball a significantly less amount of the time than Isaiah did. And they used him in pick and rolls, pick and pops, post-ups with action moving around him. Another guy who could take on more playmaking opportunities so the score-first point guard could focus on what they do well, which is putting the ball in the basket. So you could say that Horford was to Isaiah Thomas what Eric Snow was to Allen Iverson. And I do think Kyrie Irving is going to need a guy like this on his team if his playmaking does not take a significant jump. So do I think Kyrie Irving can lead his own team? I'm weary of it. But at the same time, I do think he has progressed as a player. I think his mindset has also progressed as well. Even if his playmaking has not gone through the roof, I do think in a situation where he just kind of knows the deal and he knows that he's going to be asked upon to do more things for his teammates, perhaps he could be better. But I do also think it's going to take a particular team around him with some defenders and probably one other guy who's a really good facilitator.